Hey everyone, Todd here, internalarchitect.com. In this video, I'm going to share my cancer story part 2, and I call this Hindsight is 2020. After I went through the stem cell transplant and I was able to kind of be out of Presbyterian St. Luke's in the transplant unit and kind of in the halfway house is when I kind of really started to think about, well, I shouldn't say that. I really was thinking about the whole time during treatment, but I really started kind of piecing the puzzle together about all the signs that I had kind of experienced, or the things that were going on with my body that kind of were telling me that what I was going through might have been a lot more serious than I really realized. And it all started when I got back from Florida. It actually started when I was in Florida, and this was 2000, the winter of 2008 going into 2009, so New Year's going into 2009. And I had just finished up pretty hard year of work and doing pretty good, whatever. And this was right at the real beginning of the downturn in the economy. I had just finished up doing a really big house and actually won an award for Developer of the Year, which was pretty cool, for this house in Breckenridge. And won Developer of the Year and won a bunch of Parade of Homes awards amongst that, not just with myself but with the builders and the kind of the group effort and everything. And after all that, ended up going to Florida for about a month. I had some money saved up just to get out of town and kind of thaw out before I came back into winter full time. And so ended up hanging out there, hung out with a friend Barefoot. He came down from North Carolina just to hang out and just kind of partied, had fun, and was feeling pretty good. Ended up doing a lot of just relaxing on the beach and just enjoying some time not in the snow. I remember everyone was thinking I was a little bit crazy because I was wearing shorts and like t-shirts down there because, I mean, to me that was warm. I just left Colorado where it was, 10 to 15 degrees and, having to wear thermals and long underwear and just bundled up. And I go down there and it's funny, people are driving around and with their heaters on and in puffy coats. And so I looked pretty crazy. Played a whole lot of golf. And I came back from Florida right after New Year's and ended up going up to Jackson Hole with a friend of mine just for a couple of days. And I remember getting up to Jackson Hole and realizing that went to the $1 Million Cowboy Bar. And so if anyone's ever been up to Jackson Hole, they know of the $1 Million Cowboy Bar, right? Went into there and got a Budweiser and a shot of whiskey. And I remember doing the shot of whiskey and having a sip of the Budweiser, and I was like, this tastes horrible. I don't know what this. It doesn't taste right. And I was like, I ended up having the bartender just switch me out another one. It tasted the same. So I was like, this is just really weird. So I was like, I finished it, not really enjoying it. And I really didn't drink too much after that. So it was kind of the first telltale sign that something was starting to change. And this all happened within like a week or two of, from Florida and then, up to Jackson Hole. So that was the first sign of something going on. My taste buds were changing, and the taste of beer especially was really just, I didn't like it. It wasn't working for me. So kind of, enjoyed the rest of the trip and then ended up, coming back. And at that point I started really just kind of taking a huge step back from drinking because I just wasn't enjoying it. It wasn't tasting good. Just all the above. So, I kind of carried on and I ended up getting a Went in for a physical, and it was like maybe in May, and a week or two later, ended up getting the results back, and it kind of there's the sign on there was that my white blood cell count was a little bit high. So I'd kind of just gotten off of having a cold, and just kind of some seasonal, just not flu, but like just kind of crud going around. So kind of figured my body was fighting that, and so that's kind of the main reason. But we just started to kind of keep an eye on it. So did another one in September, just to kind of make sure, and the results came back that in October at that point, and my white blood cell count had gone up a little bit higher from there. So my body was definitely fighting something, but I didn't really have too much alarm and too much concern. During this time, I was also really active. I was working at the golf course, the Breckenridge golf course, and on the side I was doing a lot of logging work. So I was really, really active and really, really busy. And in that turn, I had also dropped a fair amount of weight and was feeling pretty good. But I was also starting to sweat a lot at night. And that kind of started kind of midsummer, and it really started, by September, I was sweating pretty heavy, like full body sweats through the night. And then come about the end of September through November, I was sweating every night, and I was drenching the bed. Like, it was insane. Like, this is really weird. And that's why I ended up going back for more blood work. And at the same time, I was also really itchy, like just itchy in my legs and my chest, and I just in my arms. And I remember kind of in my elbow area on both sides, I was scratching so much that I thought I had like some psoriasis or something that was just like, and I remember scratching myself raw, and I actually have some scars from that little bit of time that I was just itching so bad. And then I was also I remember itching my legs laying in bed, just like, God, it felt so good, and I didn't want to stop. So I was really, really itchy. I was sweating a lot at night. I had lost a fair amount of weight, and I wasn't sleeping super good either. So those were the kind of the main telltale signs for me that something was going on. And then whatever, I ended up I didn't get my blood results back. Let's see, I did the blood test in September. I didn't get the blood results back until the day that I went down to the hospital in November. And it wasn't that I wasn't super, it wasn't a super important thing to me to have these results immediately. I ended up getting them. Or maybe it was on the third one. No, I ended up doing a third set, actually. Sorry, my memory's gone. It's been 8 years. So I did a third set towards the end of October because my white blood cell count was higher again in the second one. And I didn't get those results until the day that I went down to the hospital. Okay. By then, at that point, let's see, I was really kind of, the economy was in absolute shit at that point, and everyone was trying to figure out what to do for work, and no one was hiring any contractors to build new houses or stuff. So I ended up going to, I remember it was November 5th, and it was a Saturday, and I was on the courthouse steps listening to all the auctions, because I was learning about foreclosures and auctions and stuff, and ended up just was learning about that, and that was a Saturday, and during that time, around 10 o'clock, I ended up getting this really like a cramp in my right side that was just really it just was persistent, and it was just really annoying, and it felt like it was a cramp, but it kind of felt like gas, right? And after the foreclosure auction, whatever, I ended up meeting my mom for some breakfast, and I told her, I was like, something, man, I got this weird pain. It feels like I got a cramp. I don't know what's going on, and just kind of kept an eye on it through the rest of the day, and whatever. And then at the end of the day, it was still there, which was really odd. I never had this issue before, and I told mom, I was like, if this is there tomorrow, probably want to go to the hospital because this is just really strange and really weird. Ended up going to bed that night, and woke up the next day and whatever, got up and it came back. And at this point I was like, all right, mom, this is still here. I don't know what's going on. Let's go down to the emergency room and just, see what's going on. And so went down to the emergency room, got admitted, and did a CT scan, and that's when I met my internist, the first internist that I ended up talking with, and he ended up going through the CT scan with me and showed me some results that were pretty alarming. I saw for the first time what my liver looked like, and if you can picture a bag of birdseed and just that type of consistency to it, right? And just looking through the plastic, that's what my liver looked like. It didn't look or have that solid look and color to it that you would expect, from an imaging scan like that. And he told me, he was like, okay, this is one of two things. It's either an infection or it's cancer. And I was just like, it's definitely infection, and he was like, well, whatever it is, we need to get you down to Denver and get you admitted and start getting this figured out. And during that time, we also came across what was a pretty good lump in my armpit, and that's why he was thinking it was a little bit more cancer, because, well, fuck, I have this thing going on in my armpit that is not supposed to be there. And so I ended up going to Denver. They admitted me into the hospital, and that's kind of where everything started to unfold. That night I remember going into the hospital, and I ended up sharing a room for a couple hours with this guy that sounded like he was on his deathbed, just coughing super bad, and it was pretty gnarly. And then I ended up getting moved later that night into my own room, and that's where everything started to unfold. So those were the telltale signs that something was going on. I didn't really realize it, because obviously when you haven't gone through an experience like that, you kind of just take the punches as they come, and that's what I was doing. I mean, we were in a bad economy. We were all working as much as we could with what we had, and trying to just survive and not kind of lose everything that we got that we'd worked for. So at that point, just did the little bit that I could. Fortunately, I was on health insurance and decent health insurance at that, and everything else kind of unfolded into my cancer experience and my Hodgkin's diagnosis. So yeah, that's kind of what it was. That's what it was all about. And it took hindsight is 2020, and there was a number of things that really stand out after going through it and realizing that I was dealing with symptoms that I had no idea about. So yeah, well, yeah, I hope you like the second part of my story. I hope that kind of also gives you a little insight into some of the stuff that I went through before my diagnosis, just so that I don't want to try to alarm you or anything, but just as someone that has gone through it, just to be aware of what is happening with your body, and do get stuff checked out. Whether you go a little bit more of a holistic approach than I did, or you go kind of the mainstream treatment side of things, which I consider both sides really fascinating, and I think both sides have a lot to offer. Yeah, definitely keep an eye on your own self, because as a healthy 42-year-old man now, I'm able to look back and look at this. So 8 years. I was 34 years old when I was diagnosed, and 8 years in remission right now, and feeling real good about it. So thanks for watching the video, guys. I really appreciate your time and energy into watching, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.